All we're saying is you can't carry a gun in town.
I have two guns, one for each.
When you think of Tombstone, you picture merciless gunfights, unforgettable leaners, and of course, Sam Elliott's iconic mustache stealing every scene. But here's the twist. Elliot recently revealed a behind-the-scenes truth that most fans of the legendary Western never picked up on. It's the kind of detail that flips how you see the movie. And once you know it, you can't unsee it. So, what exactly did Sam Elliott confess about Tombstone that left fans stunned after all these years? Stick around because this revelation might just change the way you watch the film forever. What was Tombstone really about? When you think of Tombstone, you're not just thinking of a Western, you're thinking of fights, gunsmoke, and one of the most unforgettable ensembles ever put on screen. Released in 1993, this wasn't just another cowboy flick. It was George P. Cosmatos' vision brought to life after writer Kevin Jarre, the film's original director, was replaced early in production. And the cast was absolute dynamite. Kurt Russell embodied Wyatt Earp with determination, while Val Kilmer turned Doc Holliday into a scene-stealing legend of cinema. But the brilliance didn't stop there. Sam Elliott carried the weight of Virgil Earp with a commanding presence that felt carved out of stone. Bill Paxton gave Morgan Earp a tragic vulnerability that made his fate sting even harder. Powers Booth oozed pure menace as Curly Bill, the kind of villain who made the air shift when he entered a scene. Then came Michael Biehn's chilling turn as Johnny Ringo, a performance that made madness look poetic. Dana Delaney brought fire and passion to Josephine Marcus, shaking up the story in all the right ways. And to crown it all, the narration came from Robert Mitchum himself. A legend lending his voice to a legend. Together, this wasn't just a film. Tombstone was an event set against the bloody backdrop of the 1880s in southeast Arizona. The story is pulled straight from history, the infamous gunfight at the OK Corral and the Earp Vendetta ride. Critics praised its direction and wonderful acting with Kilmer's hard-drinking, sharp-tongued Doc Holliday stealing nearly every scene. The result, a $73.2 million box office hit turned cult classic. And here's the kicker. Decades later, fans still can't stop quoting it. But if you think you know Tombstone inside and out, think again. Because behind all the famous lines, duels, and swaggering stares, there are stories that even diehard fans probably haven't heard. Kevin Jarre's firing. Tombstone isn't just a Western. It's one of the most beloved, endlessly rewatchable films of the modern era. And let's be honest, if you're a fan, you've probably quoted half the script by heart, especially Val Kilmer's unforgettable turn as Doc Holliday. His razor-sharp delivery laced with wit and swagger has gone down as the definitive portrayal of the gambling gunslinger. You might think you know every line, every showdown, every dramatic stare-down from this film. But here's the twist. There are hidden stories behind Tombstone that most fans have never heard. And once you know them, you'll never look at the movie the same way again. For starters, Tombstone wasn't just stacked. It was loaded with one of the most macho ensembles Hollywood ever pulled together. Kurt Russell as Wyatt Earp. Sam Elliott as the stoic Virgil. Bill Paxton as the Dune Morgan. Powers Booth chewing up the screen as Curly Bill. Michael Biehn brings a chilling edge as Johnny Ringo, and that's before you even get to the supporting roster. Michael Rooker, Thomas Hayden Church, Stephen Lang, Billy Zane, Jason Priestley, Billy Bob Thornton, and Terry O'Quinn all left their marks. It was the kind of lineup that made the film feel larger than life before a single shot was fired. Speaking of shots, the movie was filmed almost entirely on location in Arizona starting in May 1993. Kevin Jarre, the screenwriter behind Glory and Judgment Night, wrote the script based on real figures like Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday weaving in legendary events such as the gunfight at the OK Corral. Jarre wasn't just the writer. This was supposed to be his directorial debut. But that dream quickly collapsed. Overwhelmed by the pace of production, struggling to capture essential shots, and falling further behind schedule, Jarre was fired just 1 month into filming. That shakeup nearly tore the production apart. Michael Biehn, a close friend of Jarre, even considered walking away. Elliot admitted that he felt replacement director George P. Cosmatos didn't understand or respect the script. Still, when Cosmatos came in, the cast stuck together. He brought a strict no-nonsense presence to the set, which created friction, most notably with cinematographer William Frere. Meanwhile, Kurt Russell quietly stepped up, working with producer James Jacks to strip down Jar's sprawling script, trimming out subplots and focusing more on the bond between Wyatt and Document. But here's the kicker. Russell later revealed that it was actually him, not Cosmatos, who directed the film. According to Russell, Cosmatos was brought in as a kind off-ghost director, a public face, while Russell directed the movie behind the scenes. Val Kilmer backed him up, saying Russell essentially directed, though he stopped short of claiming Russell handled every actor personally. Bean himself admitted that Russell never gave him direction directly. But the truth is clear. Without Russell steering the ship, Tombstone might never have become the classic it is today. On the advice of Sylvester Stallone, Kurt Russell quietly took the reins, with Cosmatos acting as his on-set cover. Russell cut his own dialogue, lost hours of sleep, and made the tough calls to keep the production alive. He swore he'd keep the secret until after Cosmatos' death, and he did. In 2013, nearly a decade after Cosmatos passed away, Russell finally confessed in a candid interview with True West magazine. Cosmatos, for his part, leaned heavily into historical accuracy. Everything from costumes to props to customs was designed to feel authentic. Even iconic moments were built carefully, but Billy Bob Thornton's saloon scene where Wyatt throws him out was almost entirely improvised. Thornton had only one direction: be a bully. The result, a classic sequence that perfectly showed Wyatt's ability to dominate a room without ever drawing his gun. All the actors grew real mustaches except John Tenney. When you think of Tombstone, you picture the grit, the gun smoke, and of course, those glorious mustaches. But here's the thing. Those mustaches were in Hollywood props. Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, Sam Elliott, Bill Paxton, Powers Booth, Jason Priestley, Stephen Lang, and Michael Biehn all committed so hard to their roles that they grew the real deal. No stick-ins, no quick fixes, just pure Old West authenticity hanging from their lips. Michael Biehn, who brought Johnny Ringo to life with Icy Menace, explained where that obsession came from. Kevin Jarrah, the film's original director, was a stickler for detail. He wanted the mustaches not just grown, but styled a very particular way, with curled ends polished with wax like men of the 1880s actually wore them. It wasn't just facial hair. It was character work. And the cast took a strange kind of pride in it, wearing their mustaches like a badge of honor, but not everyone got to join the brotherhood. John Tenney, who played Sheriff Johnny Bien, came in fresh off another role and couldn't grow one. Parts slipped away. But just picture that for a second. Rohr's smoldering unpredictability squaring off against Kilmer's witty, dying Document. Instead, the role went to Michael Biehn, who delivered a performance that still sends chills. Ironically, Rohr would circle back to the Western genre years later, showing up in Danny Cho's direct-to-DVD horror Western Dead and Tombstone. This time, not as a gunslinger, but as Lucifer himself. Talk about trading six-shooters for eternal damnation. And speaking of fire and brimstone, let's talk about the man who lit up Tombstone in a way no one else could. Val Kilmer stole the show. Doc Holliday wasn't in Hurt by Blood, but in Tombstone, he might as well have been the heartbeat of the story. While Kurt Russell, Sam Elliott, and Bill Paxton carried the weight of the Hurt brothers, it was Val Kilmer's Doc who stole every frame, every line, every moment. His portrayal wasn't just acting, it was channeling. The real Wyatt Earp once described his closest friend as a tall ash-blonde man, rail-thin, ravaged by tuberculosis, yet unmatched at the gambling table and lightning fast with Agin. Kilmer leaned into that description with obsessive detail. He didn't just memorize lines. He crafted a character dripping with equal parts charm, menace, and fragility. Holliday's cough wasn't overdone. It was haunting. His drawl wasn't generic Southern. It was refined and deliberate, based on careful study of Holliday's Georgian roots. And that quick draw you see on screen. Kilmer drilled at it relentlessly until the timing was flawless. But perfection came at a price. Filming in the Arizona summer was brutal, and Kilmer's heavy wool costumes turned each day into a trial by fire. He was sweating through takes, yet he never let it break the performance. Off camera, he studied Holliday's habits, mannerisms, and history, ensuring the role was more than a caricature of Audian gunslinger. The result, a performance so sharp and intense it overshadowed even the leads. Critics didn't just praise Kilmer, they crowned him the soul of Tombstone. Fans still debate if it's the greatest Western performance ever put on film. But here's the kicker. Kilmer later admitted he saw Holliday as both cursed and free. Dying young gave him nothing to lose, which made him the most dangerous man in the room. That subtle edge is why Doc doesn't just support the Earps in the film, he defines them. That subtle edge is why Doc doesn't just support the Earps in the film, he defines them. But here's the wild part. Just like Doc himself, the Tombstone we know today is only half the story. What audiences saw in theaters wasn't the full picture at all. The original cut ran so long it could have been an entirely different movie. Tombstone was meant to be over 3 hours long. When Tombstone hit DVD, fans finally got a taste of extra footage that expanded the world they already loved. But here's the catch. Not everything made it to the final cut. One of the most intriguing deleted moments involved the cowboys holding a bonfire, mourning their fallen comrades right after the OK Corral burial. The sequence actually shows up in the film's trailer, teasing audiences, yet it vanished from the finished movie. Another casualty of the edit was a longier courtship between Wyatt and Josephine. The romance played beautifully on screen, but trimming it down kept the film's relentless pace intact. And while Tombstone premiered in December 1993, it wasn't the only Wyatt Earp project in the works. Warner Brothers released their own version with Kevin Costner.